there's also a lot that you're doing with outside of just leads, training, orientations, whether it's brokerage or career. I'd love to kind of pivot and talk through some of the things that y'all do from a training perspective.
So we do, every new agent that comes on, we do 2 days of classroom training, full days.
And those are live?
Yeah, so we do some live trainings. If people, this time we did it virtual just because we had people in several states, but we do both. And when we do our virtual, the home office team is together, right? So it's virtual for the agent, but we're all there together to help them. And it's learning about the carriers, learning about our CRM, learning what premium per lead is, what, annual premium per lead is stuff, even if you're an experienced agent, we start from the basics, how to figure out annualized premium to how you're paid. We go through, I think there's some videos on our page of the last training we did last week, but, knowing the close percentages and how to calculate that, setting goals, we go through that, knowing your why are you doing this? We talk about, obviously the carriers and the actual process of writing an application. And then we spend a lot of time role playing, right? So we don't say, Cody, you go do it your way. Wayne, you do it your way. We say, here's how you door knock, and here's what you say, and here's the 5 or 6 common rebuttals, right? Most people say the same thing when you knock the door. I'm not interested. I already took care of that. Somebody else has already been by. I need to ask my kids. My husband's not home. My wife's not home. Whatever it is, they're going to say the same things at the door, and we teach you how to overcome that, right? And what to say. And then when you get in the home, it's a totally different conversation, right? So you've got a door conversation, and then you've got a home conversation, and we've created a 6-page flip chart that first page basically educates the client on why they filled the card out, to try to find out why, right? Asking them questions. The second page is educating them on the difference between term insurance, accidental, and whole life. Dealing with seniors, it leads them to why whole life is good. Yep. And they agree that by the end of that conversation that whole life, it probably makes the most sense for them. Then we go into a graph showing, inflation. So if they're younger in their 50s and 60s, maybe they need a little more coverage to cover that funeral. And then lastly, we talk about the different options. One is to do nothing, which everybody knows is a bad idea. The other is a prepaid funeral plan with the funeral home. And, you have to pay dollar for that. And even if you finance it, if you don't get it all paid for, you owe the difference. And we talk about that. And then the last one is the state regulated plans that we offer. And we talk about, guaranteed benefits and premiums never increasing and all the great things that whole life does for seniors. And by the end of it, they're agreeing that that's the best product for them. And we go straight into an intake sheet, which is information gathering. So we know what carrier to put them with.
That's awesome.
Get them approved, show them 3 prices, let them pick one.
I love it. And they
keep it simple. And then people will deviate and make it their own, but it gives every agent a starting point. Right. And I think that's important because when I was trained and I figured it out finally, but, it was more of watch what I do and then do that. Well, when you're on your own, maybe that style wasn't great for me. And so we found something that literally an agent can just read word for word. And we give them a printed copy in a nice bound notebook, or they can use it on their iPad if they want, but that way they can sit there and until they get good at it, just read it line for line while they're sitting with the client, letting them, they're asking the questions, waiting for the client to answer, going back and forth. And then if they want to make it their own, they can, right? But at that point, and then if they're training new agents, they can show them that, and it keeps everything standardized.
I love that you do that. For those listening, I would love to know in comments if you get overwhelmed on what to say, when to say it, what to say when people say stuff. Like this is a full, literal flip chart walking you through from the beginning to the end, which is pretty special. That's smart.
Yeah, it's all assumptive selling, right, and educational, and that's what a lot of what our rebuttals are at the door. When someone has an objection, everything is education based. I'm not a salesman. I'm not door to door. I'm not here to ask you for any money or sell you anything, Cody. All I'm here to do is educate you. And we teach our agents, if you just knock doors and try to flip chart people, forget selling insurance, just try to flip chart everybody, you're going to make sales. Because that part, they're going to see the need and say, well, I have a policy. Am I paying too much for it? Do I have the right kind of insurance? They're going to go get it. If they don't have a policy by the end of it, they realize they need one. So whatever the case may be, you're getting all of that through the flip chart, but the hardest part is the door, and that's why we tell people, don't tell them you're not selling them anything. We don't know if we are, right? Yeah. We've got a flip chart on them. They may have the best policy in the world, and we say, look, you're good to go. Don't fill out any more cards. Have a nice day.
Correct.
But We're
I
there
like
to
that. Don't
educate
fill out
them.
any more cards.
Yeah, don't fill out any more cards, but
We don't have to pay
you're
for
good.
those anymore.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, make it educational. You know, and
Good.
if you're educating our seniors, it brings that wall down and it lets them kind of make the decision on what they need.
Yes. What piece of this whole training process and everything you'll do you think agents need the most help with, or have the most questions about, or that really stands out?
Just, I think, role playing, right? That's
Yeah.
that's the biggest piece in our training. We spend a little bit of day one doing it, but most of day two. And it's funny just finding out from the very first time, and we hit them with it, right? It's on the agenda, they see, but we hit them with it with, okay, go. I'm the client. And even though they have it in front of them, they're so nervous they can't read the words, a lot of them. And that's okay. And we tell them, it's okay, Cody. It's your
Yes.
first time. But now tonight, read it, study it, and then by the next day, it tells me two things. One, who really wants this? Because if you went home and you can read through it, then you've kind of memorized it, and that's what we're looking for people that are doing that. And not
big.
that people that haven't don't make it, but it's
Sure.
just an indicator. But at the end of the day, what I like to do is, the second day is, now they've got all the fear, we get to know each other, everything's better, especially when we're together. If we go out to dinner that night, we kind of create that camaraderie. By the next day, they're more comfortable with us. And at that point, and we hit them hard, by the second day, when they get good at it, we start hitting them with objections like, no, you're not coming in here, or, I already took care of that, and just see how they react and how they do it. But we train it, like I said, from A to Z on exactly what to say based on what a client's going to say.
It's good. Yeah, it's really, really good that y'all do that. What else from a value standpoint of what y'all do for agents that maybe we haven't talked about before?
Yeah, so I think a lot of, in addition to training, right, there's a lot of people that have great training out there, and a lot of guys on YouTube that do a good job with it as well. But I think having systems in place are very important. And what I mean by systems, a lead flow, a structure. Sunday night you do this, Monday you do that, because, there's some guys that eat Subway every day for lunch. Like you start to see habits of successful people. They do the same thing every day, or at least have that structure, right? You manage off a Google Calendar. I've seen your calendar before. I thought mine was crazy till I saw Cody's calendar. So, I was like, oh, there's blocks all over here, but you don't have any breaks on yours. And, but that's important. You have structure, right?
Yeah.
You know what time you're going to go work out. You know what time you're going to talk to Wayne Daniel. You know what's going to happen. If agents will do that, right? On Sunday night, I get my leads. On Monday, I check my numbers in the leaderboard, and I already have everything organized so I can be at my first house by 10. By Monday night, we use GroupMe to report our numbers. I'm going to see if I've hit my goal for the day, where I'm at for the week, and then the quarter, right? Because we look to increase commissions every quarter based on their performance. So we're very, very goal-driven. I think it's important. I do personal and professional goals every year for myself, for our company. I do budgets for the company. You do it for yourself. Do a budget for yourself. Have goals for yourself on what you want to make on income. And we ask everybody that. How much do you want to make here? And then we back into the number. Here's what you got to do it. Right? It's right here. It's easy. And that's what a lot of people don't do. Here's the contract. Here's a bunch of training. And they don't know, is $30,000 good? Is $300,000 annual premium good? If you're a new agent and nobody ever told you, you don't know.
Yeah.
There's people on Facebook saying they write 10, 15 grand a week that don't. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Or they did it once.
Maybe that's what it is. They did it once, and they're putting it out there like they can do it every week. But it gives, a new agent, they're like, well, what's wrong? I only wrote 3,000 of annual premium or 4,000. They think they're doing something wrong, and they're like, no, here's the averages. Really, so we love leaderboards and averages because it lets them know where they stand as an average to the company. And they can pull that up at any time and say the average, core agent writes 4,287, and here's where I'm tracking to that. That's it last week, yeah.
That's good. They do knows his numbers too, which is really important.
You got to know. Close ratio, 27%. It about evens out to 20 leads. You're going to sit with 10 of them, sell half of who you sit with. That's what the numbers work out to be. About 25, 26%. Like I said, if we start doing 27, 28 to 30, we're doing something right. Yeah. You always want to see that number better, but we bring on a lot of new agents that don't do as well, and then we have a lot of rock star agents that are doing 35, 40%. So, but we tell everybody the difference between you and a rock star agent is time and practice.
Yes.
It's the only difference.
Yes. I had an agent message me last week. They're like, hey, I wrote $5,000 my first week. Is that good?
I mean, that's
I'm like,
incredible.
dude, that's freaking awesome,
Yeah.
man. Like, goodness gracious. It's almost funny. I almost didn't want, I want to encourage him to be positive, but almost like, maybe I shouldn't tell him. Maybe he'll like think it's
and
not.
write more.
And then just write more. You know what I mean? Didn't matter to me. He's not my agent, but it's just funny, like the thought pattern of what we think is good, what we don't think is good. I mean, the environment I was in as a new agent, I thought $2,000 in a week was like freaking incredible, you know, because most people weren't doing it.
Yeah.
Which is insane. I mean, you are when you're working with Wayne and Core. I mean, you know, like you said, the average last week was 4,287. I think you said.
But the brokers don't, to your point, because if you look at an average weekly, because they don't work every week most of the time, because they have weeks where they don't have leads, there's gaps. There's typically, I say typically because there's some brokers that do very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
And they're usually because they're, you know, very, very structured and you know, very organized. You know, in their methods and what they're doing, very deliberate, where most people aren't, right? They want that. Yeah. They want somebody to kind of tell them what to do. And that's what we're here for. You know, you do it your way, but we're here to give you the structure and kind of tell you how to be successful, because you're right. That's why 2,000 is great for someone that's just kind of out there on their own, that doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't have a consistent lead flow. Because that's it, Cody. Get the leads, go to work. Get the leads, go to work.
It holds you accountable, too. Like
right.
Investing in leads every week holds you accountable to get up and go to work.
Absolutely.
And y'all do a good job on the brokerage side. If they want to hold themselves accountable, they can do that. And actually, you actually eat some of the costs, which is cool. And then on the core side, you'd eat all the costs.
Right.
And then they can help hold them accountable. And a lot of people need that, by the way. Like, there's a lot of you agents that are listening that you're like, you know what? He's right. I do need someone to hold me accountable and help me.
Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there.
Yeah, if you take 25 leads, make 20 contacts per week, whether they say no or yes, then several agents writing over $200,000 of annual premium, you know, netting over $100,000 a year.
Which is amazing. And you do the math. Like, I like that you're talking.